Yes, you guys, welcome back to another News Daily video. And with the stories for today, it's been honestly non-stop news. And originally I had an idea to release 3 videos today, but I just think that, that could be too much. So expect one of the News Daily videos to be released tomorrow. And what I liked about the stories today was that there were some nice parallels between news surrounding defenders and attacking players too. So that made it easier for me to just break up the news stories and keep them formatted. So for the one you're watching now, I'm going to focus on the latest news surrounding attacking players we're being linked with. So I hope you guys do enjoy, because in today's video, I'm going to be discussing the latest news surrounding Harry Kane, Lukaku, Tammy Abraham, and Ike Ugbo as well. So it's going to be some really interesting news. I hope you guys enjoy. And one more thing as well, I have released a match preview for the game against Fulham. Show some love, you guys, give that a watch. I like making the match previews. I think they're quite decent, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm sounding way too gassed right now. I shouldn't be. Right now, it's time to focus on the first story today, and that's the story surrounding both Harry Kane and Lukaku as well, because reports have been slowly coming out suggesting that we may find the price for Haaland a bit too much. He could be way too difficult to sign, and due to the amount of strong interest for the player, it's smart that we're looking at alternatives that we can really sign to improve our attack. So those 2 alternatives, of course, have been Harry Kane and Romelu Lukaku. Now, I'm going to start with the Kane news first, because to keep things absolutely real, there wasn't like any definitive big breaking news or context behind the stories. It's more the fact that, number one, it's quite obvious that Kane is quite disillusioned with life at Tottenham, because now he's in the prime years of his career. He's at a club that don't have the capacity to challenge for honours on all fronts, and right now, after another disappointing season with them, it's only right that he's questioning his long-term future at Tottenham. So reports have been saying a multitude of things. They are saying that, number one, Kane ideally prefers to remain in London due to his family being settled as well. So of course, a move to us would be on the cards, and something of great interest to Harry Kane to maintain his lifestyle in London. The reports do stress though that we would love to sign Harry Kane, but the reality is it could be quite impossible due to our fractious relationship with Tottenham. Let's cast our minds back to when we were strongly interested in signing Luka Modric. For me, one of the great players that escaped our grasp, because Modric was dead set on signing for us. There was this amazing extract from his recent biography where he spoke about meeting Roman on his yacht in Monaco, and obviously Roman telling him, okay, the fact that you came here means that clearly you're serious about wanting to sign for us, and let's make something happen. And we have the money and finances ready. However, Spurs did not want to sell to us, and they actually sold Modric for less money to Real Madrid. So who knows what could have happened, you guys, if we signed Modric all those seasons back. Considering that happened a few years back, what's really the chances that we could sign Harry Kane for similar money? For me, I think Kane is a world-class player for sure, but I do think when you sign strikers, they need to complement how a team plays. And I think with Kane now, his best work now is dropping deeper, creating space for others to run onto. But here's where our issue lies, because if you're using Kane in that role, in this back 3 setup, he needs to have 2 players alongside him who are capable of scoring the goals from wide areas. Timo Werner, you're hoping would be a player that would step up even more, and alongside him you need to have like maybe a Pulisic or Hudson, or sign someone to bring that goal threat from out wide too. So I don't know how necessarily that would work exactly. I think that maybe a striker with pace who has the ability to run in behind could be more useful for us. But I don't know. Reality is, it seems very unlikely that we could sign Harry Kane unless he came out publicly to make something happen. So right now, you guys, we move on to the news surrounding Romelu Lukaku, because he is now seen as the number 1 realistic alternative to both Erling Haaland and Harry Kane as well. Now, how much Lukaku costs? Reports are stating that it would take bids of up to 105 million euros to try and sign the player. And what makes this news quite interesting too was that a tweet came from Mr. Fabrizio Romano. The tweet was quite mad. It states that Lukaku ideally prefers to remain in Inter Milan and will look to reject our advances. Now, I guess that's quite humbling, considering that Lukaku has a long-term history with us. We actually signed the player, we didn't really believe in him enough to keep him here and allow him to develop. He was cast aside so he could develop himself. A move back in the day which was definitely the right one to make, because look at how Lukaku is right now. If he remained with us, would he be the same player? Most likely not. And that tells you everything you need to know about how we develop players here at times. With Lukaku, on top of that, we had the chance to re-sign him from Everton, but then we weren't serious enough with negotiations with Raiola, and that move never came through. So Lukaku, I'd imagine, I'm only speculating here, you guys, but I'd imagine that he signed for a manager in Conte who has wanted him for a very long time, desperate for him, because Lukaku is like that key player that is needed for Conte's system. Right now he's scored like 61 goals in 91 games. He's like their leading scorer every single time. He's on course to help them in their first Scudetto this season, and he's on course to get over 30 goals a season for the year as well. So if we are serious about signing Lukaku, well, we have to show that. We have to not only come with the wages, the money, but we need to have a footballing plan to sell to Lukaku as well. It's not as simple, you guys. Cast our minds back to the summer when we signed players like Hakim Ziyech. When he signed for us at the time, I'm sure he had no idea at all that Lampard could possibly get sacked and that we play a completely different style of football that he didn't first agree to. So, players have to really consider the long-term future. And this is humbling news to hear as well. So it'll be interesting to see how talks will progress and develop as it goes on. We know that Inter Milan have some financial difficulties. We can definitely take advantage of that. And at the same time, it's not the first time that players have been sold when they didn't want to move in the first place. A recent example would probably be Arta, who left Barcelona to sign for Juventus. He didn't want to go, but it's what happens in the game, you guys. So I'm going to ask you right now, out of Harry Kane, Hall and Lukaku, who all right now seem like very difficult targets to sign, who should we go for? Who should we break the bank for? Who should we just try our very best to sign? In the comments below, you guys, say who you want and state your reasons why too. And now we move on to the second story today, and it's more updates surrounding Tammy Abraham and his possible most likely future away from the club. Now, the list of interested clubs for Tammy keeps growing and growing. I told you guys like a few weeks or months back before that Leicester City were showing strong interest, and there was major interest coming from Europe as well. Those reports have since come out and been confirmed to be correct, and Tammy Abraham is a very popular boy. Some of the list of clubs interested in him: AC Milan now, one of the new ones, Leicester City, Wolves, West Ham, and more clubs from across Europe and in Germany too. So Tammy, he definitely has the potential to have an amazing career, and if he is definitely sold on and has to move on, then I think out of the clubs showing interest for him, there are definitely some great ones for him to really consider that could really elevate and take his career to another level. To continue on, you guys, we know that Tammy's contract does expire in 2023. Now, last season, he did have an extension added to his contract, which was just like a automatic thing, due to his clause being activated in his deal. But what's quite surprising is that even though he has another year in his contract, his wages haven't gone up. Out of all the academy grads to break into the team, Tammy's the only one still who's on the same contract and money. Of course, he wanted to play the long game, which is justifiable in my opinion. We're constantly with strikers all the time. You can't commit your future instantly and then, potentially, reap the disasters in the end. It happens quite a lot. Look at Michy Batshuayi. If it wasn't for his very high wages, he could have gone to a great team to sign for to allow him to, get consistent game time, improve hopefully, and potentially go to a different level. But now he's kind of stagnated because no one's going to sign him for the contract he's on and the money we'd want to let him go too. So, I sympathize with Tammy's situation. But what I find funny is that some of the fan base are kind of like surprised by the fact that we'd want 40 million for Tammy, saying that we should sell him for less. And I'm just thinking, last season, Wolves tried to sign him for 25 million. This is a guy that is still to this day our leading scorer, just as he was last season, and clearly has best potential and talent that is still there to come, you guys. So, I have to keep it real. I'm still quite disappointed by the news that Tammy could go. I think that this guy would be amazing to just keep within the team and the squad. You need figures like this in your team, but it seems like that's not going to be the case. And now, let's hope that Tammy finds the best possible club for himself. AC Milan would be quite interesting. I mean, for me, I love when English talents go abroad to test themselves. I think, you know, it reaps some amazing rewards and benefits. And I think that Tammy definitely is a continental striker. I could see him excelling in different leagues. And I hope that maybe if he does definitely leave, he considers moves away from the Premier League. But right now, you guys, we end things with the final story surrounding a striker. And now we're going to discuss Ike Ugbo and his future. Now, to be honest, you guys, this story made me very happy to read because I remember Ugbo when he was part of the under-23s at this club. And, you know, it just constantly reminds me that we have one of the best academies in world football. We're consistently producing talents now for the top leagues and for teams in the top divisions. And I think that Ugbo is an example of the vast talent that we produce at this club. I've always thought that Ugbo had very good talent. And, you know, he did have some difficulties with his loan moves in the lower divisions in this country. You know, loan moves at like Barnsley, Scunthorpe, etc., etc. I think even Ugbo himself at the time admitted that when he left our club to go on loan, you know, it was a lot to learn in such a short amount of time. He needed to acclimatise to those leagues. And of course, when you're used to playing a certain style of football, and then you have to leave for a club on loan that doesn't play anything like you do, that's going to be like a massive wake-up call. That's going to have a vast learning curve. And since his, you know, ill-fated loan moves here, he has excelled being loaned out in Europe. Last season, he was in the second division, Dutch league, playing on loan for Roda JC. And that season, he scored 13 goals. This season, he moved on loan to Cercle Bruges. And now he has 16 goals throughout the season. And due to his performances, even though Bruges are like right at the bottom of the table, he has interest from some very impressive and interesting clubs. It seems like the clubs after him, the list keeps growing daily and daily. Clubs such as Monaco, Bologna, Sampdoria, Genk, Rostov, and many, many more all want to sign the player. And that makes a ton of sense considering that he's in the final year of his contract and could be sold for up to 5 million. Now, I know some guys might be thinking, Nini, didn't Wesley leave Bruges and he was sold for 40 million? You know, he has like nearly the same amount of goals. Why are we only selling him for 5 million now? Now, as I said earlier, of course, his contract is expiring and, you know, I'm cool with this because for such a low fee, it means that more clubs are going to be interested. So I'm hoping that Ugbo is going to continue his future in Europe. It will be exciting to see how he progresses. He's got some very good clubs and some very, very big leagues after him. And as I keep stressing you guys, he's an example of why our academy is so important. Because now, not only does it supply players for the first team, but it produces a ton of money for us as well. And the fact that so many academy grads keep playing in top divisions year in, year out over the past few seasons from the academy tells you everything you need to know about the quality we produce at this club, you guys. So right now, that's the story surrounding strikers and attacking players out of the way. I'm going to release the other story tomorrow in the morning, so you guys stay tuned for that. And with that note, I'm EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys tomorrow with some more videos. Cool.